Yo, 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 what is going on? It is Crazy Rider right here, right now, back with chapter 41 of my Invader Zim fanfiction. It is time, you guys. It is time for the final chapter that I shall read in a different voice. So, what voice should we do for the last time? Well, originally I wanted to do a Russian accent, which would have been way too perfect for this chapter. But in the end, I decided to go with everyone's favorite Frogman. No, not that Frogman. This Frogman Precious. So let's see how this goes, shall we? Let's sit back, relax, and enjoy it all. Right here, right now.
Chapter 41. What happened? 5 years later, Precious. I'm 16 years old, and Zim and I is now the almighty alphas of the planet Earths. After I told Zim what his leaders told me, it took us only 6 months to take over Canada and the States, and another year to take over the rest of the world. All humans was either destroyed, enslaved, or imprisoned. He has kept his promise of letting the wolves and all canines of the world become the soldiers. A human might compare them to the Nazi soldiers. Some filthy humans became soldiers as well, but they still has to take orders from the wolves, and the wolves takes orders from me. Zim told the tall alphas of his conquering of the planet, of course. But of course, they didn't come to see his accomplishment. Instead, they told him that the Earth and surrounding planets was his own small empire to rule over. They puts him in charge of the surrounding 20 light years, and they puts me in charge of keeping him within those light years. Not that we has much of a choice, Precious. The twos of us can't both leave the Earth for long periods of time. With the almighty alphas gone, the wolves will start to seek out new leadership, and all that we've accomplished will go to waste. We once came close to losing the planet when we left for a week to travel to the Alpha Centauri systems. We've made it a policy to never leave Earth for more than 4 days at a time. We communicates with every human and canine on Earth through holographic messages. Every time Zim or I has a message to share with the world, our heads appear in front of all that is alive to deliver the message, Precious. Zim hasn't grown an inch since he first came to Earth, but I's grown quite a bit. While I used to be equal in heights with Zim while standing on 2 feet, I now stand at 6 inches taller than my mate. That's right, we still mates. As soon as the Earth was ours, our relationship pretty much went back to normal. He started working on my packs again, and every once in a while, we goes for a special dates. We still lives in the same little house with Gur. To be honest, not much has changed while inside the base. It's the rest of the world that's been altered so much since the takeover. The population of humans has dropped to 1 billion. But the population of wolves has risen by over 1% and is still increasing. Deforestation is now punishable by death, which means the land should be mostly forest within the next 2 centuries. Every city on Earth was required to build a statue in the form of Zim and myself together. Zim's image is posing with the earth in his hand, while I is grinning on all fours at his feet. Each residential unit has 3 shrines that people may praise to. A shrine dedicated to Zim, of course, a shrine dedicated to me, and a shrine dedicated to the Wolf Mother Goddess. An individual may pray to any of the 3 of us. I continuously pray to Wolf Mother Goddess, of course. You's probably wondering exactly what happened to some of the individual humans in our lives. The membranes, the Boros Murdosis, Gretchen, Miss Bitters, Dr. Boobs. I managed to convince Zim to keep each of these individuals alive without them being enslaved. All of them, but Gretchen, resides in separate rooms of the old school building, which is now the local prison. The membranes is each allowed to visit with each other for 1 hour a week in the cafeteria, as well as the barometers. The only reason we keep Bitters alive is because she scares us too much for us to kill her, even though she's incapable of caring that we took over. If anything, I'd say she was glad to finally be done teaching Precious. Every couple of days or so, I pay a visit to me old friend Dib, and we just sits and talks in his cell. Sometimes I visit Gaz and Professor Membrane as well, but not nearly as much as Dib. As for Dr. Boobs, well, she's my personal torture toy. It brings me great pleasure to see her in pain and to hear her screams in agony. Zim provides me with so many different torture devices to use on her, so I never gets bored. Gretchen has a bit of a different situation. Since neither Zim or I really hates her, she doesn't need to be destroyed or imprisoned. She's more of a personal assistant to us at Gur. She cooks our meals and schedules Zim's speeches, along with various other tasks. We let her live in a shack down at the end of our street. Pretty much all the other houses and neighbors has been destroyed. I no longer wear my old human clothes. Once I became Almighty Alpha, I took on wearing a tight 2-piece bodysuit made from a flexible Fortune material, a black holster for my small array of weapons, tools, and gadgets, black fingerless gloves that makes me feel like I has real wolf paws, and a pair of black boots similar to Zim's. It's all very comfortable and great for hunting and fighting. Zim also no longer has to wear his disguise, which I'm really happy about, because both of us much prefer him without it. Zim prefers not to wear it for obvious reasons, while I prefer his large magenta eyes and having easy access to his antennas. We still have a bit of a rule to never show affection in public. he doesn't want anyone to humanize us too much because of it. We even prefer to not kiss or anything in front of Grr. However, almost every night is filled with romance and pleasure. I was finally able to hunt larger game with the local wolves. I hunted and killed my first deer 3 years ago, before enjoying the creature's heart. I had eaten regurgitated deer heart from my parents before, but eating the meat that I had earned myself made it taste even more amazing. It also brought me great senses of nostalgia and reminded me of winning my final battle with Tak. Today, I was at the old school building, torturing the horrible woman who gives me this horrible human name. Prisoners has free range of their individual rooms, since every door is bolted and every window has been boarded up. I lightly drew an Erkin blade across her necks while looking into her tear-filled eyes. I grins as I lifted the blade above my head. On scale 1 to 5, how much does this hurt? I asked sadistically before jabbing the blade into her big toe. Dr. Boob squealed and cried, and I laughed at her misery. This was always my method of torture for her, mocking her 1 to 5 scale that she used to use on me during our sessions. I had me fun for the time being and decided to call it a day. I licked the blonde woman's blood from my fingers and headed down the hallway to Dib's room. I took out my special electronic key and opened the old classroom door. The room was mostly barren. All the desks that once sat in rows was now gone precious. A toilet had been installed in one of the corners of the room, as well as all the other rooms. There was no posters declaring that school rocked or learning was fun. The chalkboard remained on the front wall of the room, but there was no chalk. I had built the 3 shrines against the chalkboard for Dib and all the prisoners, but Dib destroyed the Zim one. The windows was all boarded up with metal beams, except for a couple of cracks that could show some light to the prisoner. I found Dib sitting against the back wall as usual. The lights of the room was out. He's been in this sort of depression ever since the takeover. I don't blame him at all. He had been trying to warn everybody for months. For no one to believe you until it was too late must be hard on the young man's very own precious. It certainly didn't take long for Dib to grow out of his trench coat, so I had Gretchen make him a new one. It definitely suits him just as much as the old one did. Dib has grown so much taller in the past 5 years. We used to be equal in heights as well, But now he's at least 9 inches taller than me. His cowlick has certainly grown in thickness and length, and now has a bit of a zigzag that isn't unlike his father's. The robot guards of this facility tells me that Dib doesn't eat much at all. Apparently, he eats the least out of any of the prisoners here. Because of this, he has grown rather thin, like a starved deer is thin.
Hola, Dib,
I said as I closed the door behind me. Dib didn't really look up at me. His eyes were fixed on his hands. He didn't speak, but his breathing changed at my entrance. I crawled across the floors and sat next to my old friend against the wall.
How Dib feeling today? Same as always,
He answered.
Still stuck in this place. Still hoping that this is all just a nightmare that I'll wake up from soon, and we'll go to high school together and everything will be normal. Still hoping that you'll come to your senses and take that alien scum out of power. Dib,
I breathed.
you know talking about Sim like that can lead to harsh punishments. I don't care anymore.
Dib shrugged while looking away from me.
Let the punishments come. Let them kill me if they want. I'm no good saving the Earth from in here. What's the point?
This wasn't unlike how most of our conversations went these days. I never knew what to say to these things, so I just listened, like I always just listen to what Dib said when he talks. Dib finally turned his head to me, but severely avoided my eyes.
I could hear your therapist's screams again. What did you do to her this time? I hung her from ceiling by her wrists. I cut her hair by force again, and I stabbed her toe.
I told Dib.
That's it?
Dib asked.
No,
I answered.
I do much more, but I know you not like me talk about. I'm getting used to it,
Dib said.
Besides, when you talk about what you do to her, I like to imagine myself doing the same things to him.
I shook my head.
Whatever keep you going. It's not the only thing that keeps me going,
Dib said as he rested the back of his head against the wall.
What else keep you going?
I inquired. Dib didn't answer, but closed his eyes.
Not telling you,
he finally said.
That's what keeps me going.
Not telling me what? Dib smirked and then reached out towards me, putting me in a headlock.
If I wanted to tell you, I would have a long time ago. Has anyone ever told you, you crazy?
I asked with a smirk.
Gee, I don't know. Let me think about that,
Dib said, and he smiled down at me. After I finished visiting with Dib, I headed home to the base to find Zim downstairs working on my packs again. I came up behind and wrapped my arm around my mate's waist. I gave him a kiss on top of his head.
Good evening, love,
I said to him.
Where's Gur gone?
Zim asked without looking up.
I haven't seen him all day, and he won't answer his communicator. I see him this morning,
I told my mate.
He said he going to Mexico for better tacos, which mean he should be gone all week.
Zim rolled his eyes and groaned.
That robot never changes. You love him, and you know it.
I nudged Zim.
Not like I love you.
he looked up at me and kissed me. Zim hates the fact that I's taller than him, so I always walk on all fours when we's out in public to makes him feel like the tall one between us.
You know, Zim,
I said when we pulled apart,
I think a lot lately, and I think I'm ready for us to do what mates do. We've already been kissing for 5 years, Liz.
Zim said.
I mean,
I went on,
I'm ready to go all way with you. I want to do what Earthlings do to make young, and what Urkins used to do to make smeets.
You do? Zim's antennas stood erect. I should have known those monsters you befriended would influence you.
You want to do it now?
We are alone, I said as I started kissing the base of his antenna. Zim purred.
Then, what are we waiting for? Let's go enjoy... What do you call it?
I thought of the different terms used for this activity.
Lovemaking. Then, let's go enjoy lovemaking.
Zim purred.
Yeah. Yeah, all the other voices, all the other accents I've got done, they were hard on my voice, but this was the one that really killed my voice. Like, I actually lost my voice doing this chapter. So I hope y'all are grateful. And I hope y'all come back now, yeah? To finish up this series, I will see you little darlings next time. And remember,
keeps your crazy